Hi, I'm Jeremy Cowan from IoT Now, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to another Quickfire video interview. This time with the CEO of Pod Group, Charles Towers-Clarke, who is also the author of a new book, The Weird CEO, and it's a truly original read. Charles, welcome.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you here and talking about it. I wanted to ask you, first of all, why did you call it The Weird CEO?
Well, I've been looking at AI for a while now, and I started thinking about the human attributes that are needed to work alongside computers. So in general, WEIRD is about passing decisions down to the people at the coalface, those dealing with the customers, those making the platforms, the specialists in their areas. And it's about giving responsibility and authority down the organization. So not passing it up to the hierarchy, to the managers, and even worse, to the CEOs. So it's really about encompassing the human attributes that can't be done by a computer. Specifically, what WEIRD stands for is wisdom, emotional intelligence, initiative, responsibility, and development. And if I can just go through those very, very quickly. Wisdom is not about knowing stuff. It's about actually knowing what you don't know. And having the ability to go and ask others for advice on that, and then taking that advice and using empathy and other emotional intelligence skills to work with your colleagues and understand what they would want as well. And the hardest part of all is initiative, getting people to take that decision and being willing to take that decision and take the responsibility for that decision. And then finally, it's development. And development is about taking what you've learned and being a little bit wiser for next time round.
You admit in the book that you, and I quote you here, I think, tore Pod Group apart to rebuild it for a world dominated by artificial intelligence. Your staff now choose when and where they work. They even choose how much they get paid. How well does this actually work in the real world?
It was an interesting first 6 months when we did the change process. I've described it in the book. It wasn't an easy process, and we had some huge arguments on the way. What I've really discovered is people actually fundamentally don't like change. It's still an ongoing process. We'll never finish the WEIRD process. It'll at be ongoing. But what we have found is that staff are much more empowered, they're much more engaged. It's actually quite a fun place to be at Pod. But from a business point of view, we're more agile. Everybody's empowered to make decisions. So the right people are making the decisions as well. And then decisions are better accepted. And from an implementation point of view, they're more likely to get implemented. So I guess the proof would be that we continue to have 50 to 100% growth per year. We're keeping opening up new offices around the world.
That's an astonishing figure. You've talked about self-management and you've mentioned something about it there. And I understand you've created an environment where your goal was to try and make employees more like employers, business owners, I suppose. Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the premise starts really from the fact that people control their private lives. They make all the decisions in their private lives, and yet they spend 8 hours a day at work, often listening or implementing decisions made by other people or implementing strategy made by other people. So it just occurred to me is why not let people control all of their lives? They'll be better at doing it than other people. So that's one premise. And then in terms of ownership, it's important to get people to feel owners. And to do that, I actually gave about 30% of the shares to the employees. And that might seem like it's very generous, but actually I think it's a very selfish act, mainly because I am completely convinced that by doing that, I'm going to be part of a much larger pie. But in order for all of this to work, one really needs transparency. People want to know what's going on. They want to know what's going on, whether it's good or bad. And giving them only part of the information is really unfair and doesn't work in the long run. So transparency is the key to ownership.
One of the contentious things in the book, and there are quite a few that you've said, is the IoT, which many of our viewers know and love, is a threat to jobs, and that machine learning will minimize the need for human intervention. And I think The first is probably accepted. The second is being accepted. But you've also found that money is a non-motivator, and yet you're very optimistic about the future and that we can all lead happier lives because of this. Could you explain a bit?
Yeah, sure. As you say, most of the viewers will probably understand that IoT is a threat to jobs. Obviously, as more sensors go out there, more data is being collected remotely. When machine learning comes along, that's when it's going to really change, because that is, as I said, going to be a bigger threat to jobs. But if we put that into simple terms, the reason for that is that what can be processed can be automated. What can be automated can be done by a computer or a robot. So that's where the threat comes from. But there's another angle to this whole thing, which is how engaged people feel. There was a poll done by Gallup where 87% of workers, granted this was worldwide, were not engaged. So from that point of view, I am worried. But I'm also optimistic about what IoT can bring. So long as we change the mindset that the new jobs will be requiring human skills. So we have to change the mindset to use those human skills. And then we'll end up with an empowered and engaged workforce, which whilst leaving the repetitive tasks to computers.
Sadly, Charles, we're out of time. I could go on talking about this for much longer, but it'll have to be another occasion. Where can viewers get a hold of a copy of your book?
So it's on Amazon, all countries of Amazon, in Kindle version and the paperback, and you can also get it from any paperback store. Probably may need to order it.
I've got a copy here.
Perfect.
Thanks very much, Charles.
Thank you,
It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we wish you success with the book and also with the project.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Really pleasure being here.
Good to have you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. This has been another Quickfire video from IoT Now. Until the next time, we look forward to seeing you. Bye.